Hello, everyone, and welcome to Missa Sar's Music Zone. And today's episode in our study corner, we're going to be talking about intervals. Intervals. So, when we talk about intervals, we are talking about from one point to the other, or from one point to the next. And in music, it's no different. We're talking about intervals from one tone to the next. And the distance, whether it be short or large, will determine, the intervallic relationship. So we talk about intervals. There is one particular number that is useful, and that's the number 8. So we operate within a number 8 in the musical landscape, in that there are 7 tones to a scale, and the 8th one being the octave, which is the starting point again. So we use the first 7 letters of the alphabet, and when we get to the 7th, and usually music is in order, once we get to the 7th one, then the cycle starts all over again. So for example, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A. So as we get to G, we're starting at A once more. So A would complete that octave, and so we know. So once we know all of the letters within a given scale, we know the numbers also that are associated with them. So let's say, for example, in C, so C is our central point, or center for all instruments and voices. So the scale of C, let's say C major, for example, would comprise C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. And we start all over again. So C being 1, the tonic, D being 2, the supertonic, E being 3, the mediant, F being 4, the subdominant, G being 5, the dominant, A being 6, the submediant, B, which is 7, the leading tone, and then C, we're back on the tone, or the home tone. So all of those would be those 8. So C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. So an interval now would be, any point within that scale structure. And we have several types of intervals. So for example, an interval can be melodic. That means that there's one interval played after the next. Or it can be harmonic, which is both intervals played together. So for example, from one point to the next, let's say for example, C to D. So you play those, successively. That would be a melodic interval. C, D, and then if we play them together, C, D, then that would be harmonic. Now, from those types of intervals, you have some other qualities of intervals. So an interval can be either major, minor, diminished, augmented, right? So we have major, minor, diminished, or augmented. And within the scalar structure of C, we have some intervals that are considered to be perfect intervals. So for example, a unison, which is like C and C together, the first C4 there. And then we have a perfect interval, which is perfect fourth. Perfect interval is at perfect fifth, and then we have an octave. So unisons, fourths, fifths, and octaves, those are considered to be perfect intervals. If you make any adjustment to these perfect intervals, the first adjustment would be either augmented or diminished. So once you adjust the interval to make it bigger, it is perfect, it becomes augmented. If you make it smaller, it becomes diminished. So everybody else, you just work with the flow. So for example, C to D, we would be C to D, so already that's a second. I would say that's a major second because it goes right there's one, there are two half steps to D. If we go C to D flat, then we call that a minor second, right? So because you're making it smaller, C to D is a major. If you make it C to D flat, that makes it smaller, and so on and so forth. And so you understand these intervals based on their structure, based on the scalar structure that they're in. So it doesn't have to be C, it can be any other scale that they're in. And remember that you start with the lower interval first. So if you're given two notes, the distance is going to be from the lower interval. That's how it is. So all the best with you working with your intervals.